never thought I'd really be that interested in genealogy, especially since I knew my grandma Dear had been an orphan, and so I never thought I'd really know much about her side of the family. But then when I found out that my great-grandma, your great-great-grandma, had died in a remote part of Roseau County, I kind of got fascinated with coming out to visit the land and see the place where my grandma's life was torn apart and turned upside down, and where an event happened that kind of shaped the future of her life, and then it shaped my life and your life too. So I kind of want to come out and connect with the land where that happened, and see where they lived at that time, and see the land that was allowed to go back to the wild. I think that's what really fascinates me.
Some days I wanna stand in one place, like a tree with its roots in the ground. I wanna grow without moving, live without choosing. I wanna watch every sun go down.
Well, at least we got here before midnight.
So here are the facts of what we know. We know that my grandma Dear was born in St. Paul in 1915, and the next year they were living in Saskatchewan. In 1929, her mom died in Elkwood Township due to pregnancy complications, and that she's supposed to be buried in a cemetery there in Elkwood Township. The following year, in 1930, my grandma shows up as an inmate in the 1930 census at the Wisconsin Industrial School for Girls, which is an orphanage in Milwaukee. And her siblings show up living in a foster home in northwest Wisconsin. I know that my grandma's uncle owned a homestead in Elkwood Township, and that's probably why they were there. I'm hoping to find out if they were living with him or not. We also know that there was a resettlement project called the Beltrami Island Resettlement Project, part of the New Deal, that was an experimental project to move white settlers out of the area to better farmland elsewhere, because it was costing the government too much money to have them live there because they couldn't pay their taxes. And it was during this time that my grandma's uncle's family moved out of the area. And the thing that I think is kind of neat is that after they moved the white settlers out, they worked to restore the land back to a more natural state. So what I'm hoping to find out today is generally anything that connects my grandma to the land. We know that my great-grandma died there, but I'd like to just find some evidence of her actually living there. So maybe find school records or anything that might show what their life was like at that time, and hopefully find something that will help us locate my great-grandma's grave. So should we head to the Historical Society?
Yeah.
She died to the dreams she once carried inside. And she raised a daughter who cannot forgive her for failing to lead her with wings into life. And I want to sing her a song that redeems her for all that she is that she hasn't become. As she lived for her father, then husband, then son.
So we're here at the winter silo, which is the last remnant of the tiny abandoned town of Winter. And yesterday we didn't find out a lot at the Historical Society. I didn't get any school documents that showed my grandma going to school here. What I did find that was the most interesting was the notice of death that was in the newspaper. It says, Elkwood lady dies. Mrs. Anna Sagmo of Elkwood Township died at her home Saturday, leaving her husband and 6 children to mourn her death. The Sagmo family has not lived out there very long, and the passing of their loved one is not less keenly felt for it. So this is a very short, small thing to find, but it tells me that they lived out here for a short time, and that she left behind her 6 children, which would include my grandma. So we came out here last night. We went to the cemetery just down the road and looked for my great-grandma Anna Mae Sagmo's grave site, and we couldn't find it. So it's possible that it's an unmarked grave there. From here we'll head to the homestead where my grandma's uncle had a homestead, and so it's just south of here. So we'll head there next. So this is the land where my grandma's uncle had a homestead, where I believe my grandma was living when she probably watched her mom die from pregnancy-related eclampsia. And I just try to imagine what it was like 100 years ago when my grandma was 14 years old and suddenly became an orphan, and the culture shock she would have had from living here to suddenly finding herself in an orphanage in Milwaukee. And so it's kind of neat for me to come to this spot where this event happened that just turned my grandma's life upside down and set the stage for the rest of her life, and for my life too, since my mom was born in Milwaukee and I was born in Milwaukee, and you know, it's part of my life story. So it's neat to kind of see this site. It's hard to believe 100 years ago white settlers were trying to farm this land. Most of them weren't successful, but it's kind of neat that it was allowed to go back to the wild. It was untamable land, and I think it's neat that we have places like this that remind us how we have to live in harmony with nature, and I think it's kind of neat that that's part of our heritage.
And I wonder what the old trees think of me and my need to be free. Can they see my changing? It's just a dream.